We're going to do the invocation and the pledge. I'm going to ask you not to participate by saying the words because there's a delay in you talking back to me. Okay, so we'll start with the invocation. You don't have to stand. I will.
We're going to say the pledge?
Yeah, we'll do the pledge after. Okay. Lord, thank you for this day. We hope you will provide us the guidance and understanding in these troubling times to deal with technology that we're not quite sure with. With that, I thank you. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm going to ask Lori to do the roll call and tell her if you're on video or if you're on phone so we have a record of it.
Denise Beauchamp.
Denise?
Here.
Are you on video?
I'm not hearing.
You're going to have to speak up, guys. You know. Denise, are you on video?
Yes, I am.
Okay. I can barely hear you. Go ahead. She's on video.
Okay. Mary Chandler.
Mary Chandler here on video.
Gordon Elton.
Gordon Elton here on video.
Video. Karen Murphy.
Karen Murphy here on video.
Pete Price.
He's on video. He's
Thank
present.
you. And Sandy Simonich.
She's not present.
And then Dwayne Trotter.
Here, and I'm on video.
Okay, thank you.
With that, we have, are there any additional items for the workshop?
You've got a number 2.
I've got a number 2, update board guidelines for legal consultation. Did everybody get that? Yeah.
Yeah, I've got it.
Suggestion for you in the future for that.
Yes, I got
All
it.
that squeaking you're hearing,
Can you hear me better?
everybody should use.
I hear ya.
earphones.
Okay, I hear you.
Because what they're getting
It's
I'm not
feedback.
hearing
is
Pete.
feeding right back to their own mic because they turn
No, I
the
don't hear
volumes
Pete.
up real loud on their laptop, and then it feeds back through the microphone that they're talking on where that doesn't happen.
This is Gordon. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So in the future.
Okay, I wanted to add a couple items to the agenda also.
Well, I didn't get the first one. Okay. Before Gordon, who had another item for the workshop? Anybody? Okay, go ahead, Gordon. What do you have?
Okay, I wanted to add discussion of the cancellation of summer meetings. And also the potential opening of the kayak launch ramp.
Anything else?
I don't know about everybody else, but I'm getting a lot of feedback from somebody. A lot of
It's
squeaky
your own.
sound.
It's your own system is giving you the feedback. That's what they tell me here.
I've got squeaking too.
Yeah.
Everybody does have headphones with microphones.
My
If you got a headphone and a microphone, plug in your headphones or head.
It's worse on the headphone for me.
Yeah. If you can also turn down your. They were telling me two things. If you got earphones, plug them in. That'll cut down on it. And if you can cut down on the amount of volume you have, provided you can still hear. Okay. We'll start with the revision of the PP1F, Public Relations Trustee duties. Gordon?
Okay. I've put this together to try and more fully align the area of responsibility for the two public relation trustees. With the existing boundary of north of Florida, the north area is only about 1/3 of the total area of Trailer Estates. I propose moving the boundary between north and south to Indiana Avenue, and everything north of that being the North Public Relations Trustee, and everything south of Indiana being the south. And that's approximately half and half of the properties within Trailer Estates.
Anybody that want to discuss it? Talk about it? I looked at it, and the North Territory has 442 units. The South has 844 units. So it's about, like you said, about a third. I don't know how much action is occurring in either one of them at this point to make a decision that changing the amount of territory will change the number of complaints one way or the other. But is there anybody, Karen,
Sir,
do you have any concerns about changing it?
I'm not sure. Really, I don't know.
Turn your volume down a little bit.
Everybody needs to turn the volume down.
There, that's better.
Better.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. I see a lot of stuff. I'm on the north end. I do see a lot of stuff up here. Is it like divided, meaning the streets or sections, half and half? It can't,
Oh, Jesus.
That would be my understanding. We'd be moving the borderline that currently exists from Florida down to Indiana.
I have a comment.
Oh, I see. I see what you mean. Okay.
Dwayne?
I think it's kind of an odd request when the bylaws were written all the way back in 1955. And now it's, 65 years later, and we want to try changing this. It's worked for all the past trustees, numerous trustees, and it just looks like it's trying to be a reduction in work. I'm not totally agreeable to that. I thought it was very simple to do both the north and the south at the same time when I was assigned to it. So right now, I'm not too agreeable with that.
Denise?
Can you hear me okay?
Yep, I can hear you.
I am on the north side now, so I did check out my area, and it is simple to use Florida as your boundary. However, the two streets that Gordon is suggesting, I don't see that it would be a problem. Either way, it doesn't matter to me.
Mary?
My first reaction when I saw it was the same as Dwayne's. I was wondering why we were making any changes when it's been in place for many, 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 many years. So that was my first reaction.
Pete? You got any comment, Pete?
Did he say no?
No? I can't hear you, Pete, at all. Denise, did you have something further to say?
No, I don't. It does, I checked out my area this weekend and I think everything is going well, but I see a few areas of concern. But like I said, I'm new at this, and it's easy to have Florida as the boundary, but it doesn't really matter to me either way.
Lori?
Can we have Pete shake his head yes or no?
Pete,
I mean,
can you shake your head at yes or no so we know which way you're going with this? You don't
Okay.
want to change, okay.
All right, now you
Okay.
know my opinion?
Yeah.
I'm mirroring Dwayne's in the difficulty why after 65 years. It's such an easy break for all the residents to know north or south if you just say Florida. They know exactly what that
Can't hear you.
encompasses.
Okay, Lori said that it's easy for the residents to know where the dividing line is for them to contact the north or south public relations person.
I totally agree with that.
Okay, Mike, if I may comment,
Sure.
I think it's a little bit disingenuous to use we've always done it that way. Harry, that's the worst possible justification for any course of action, in my book. I think it's a question of equity. The fact is that the Florida Boulevard is a natural dividing line. That is true. However, the reality is that there's a ratio of almost 2 to 1 between the properties that the trustee is responsible for. I don't know why the previous trustees haven't felt a concern for it, but I think it's a question of equity, and I don't hear any reason why to justify it. The fact that the residents might feel a natural dividing line is significant, I don't think they will have trouble adjusting if they contact the incorrect public relations trustee. It's easy enough matter to refer them to the other trustee.
Okay.
So I move the approval of the proposed adjustment to PP 12.
Well, one minute. We've got a new person come online. Sharon, that isn't Sandy. Okay, never
just
mind.
put me on a
I thought that
different
was
phone.
Sandy. I apologize. Well, let me ask you the question of the two public relations directors, starting with you, Gordon. How many complaints do you currently have?
I don't have a tally of those, but I've got quite a few.
Is it 100?
Mike, can you hear me now?
I'm not sure if it's that many.
We heard Pete for a second.
Okay.
Yes, Pete, we can hear you
We can
now.
hear you.
I have some more to say when you get time.
Okay,
There
go
you
ahead,
are.
Pete. I'll get back to this. Go ahead.
I don't think it should be a matter of equity and workload distribution. If you look at other trustees, look at the chairman, look at the treasurer, look at the secretary. If you're talking about equity, you've got to consider all of those too, because I think they carry the majority of the workload of the park.
Denise, how many complaints do you have?
I'm new. I went and checked out one and resolved it. I'm not quite sure how many complaints I haven't got, personally, I haven't received any, and so I've got a few that I'm checking on, but I don't have, as far as I know, I don't have any.
Mike,
Yes,
just for clarification, we can talk about whether we think that there should be a change or not, but until we have a board meeting, we can't make any changes, correct?
correct.
Yeah.
In other words, you'd have to submit a PP 38 for board meeting activity.
All right.
From what I, Go ahead.
I'm with Pete. I don't think equity can be the only driving thing here. I'm back to Florida being a great divider. It's easy for people to understand. This is not about equity. It's just about doing the job you're assigned. So I don't think there should be any changes.
Since neither one of the public relations directors can give me an accurate count of what they've got for a workload, I've got no way of analytically determining if there's a need to change the boundary lines at this time. The consensus I see is there is no consensus to change it at this current time. Again, you've got the feeling of the board that they're not at this point. You have the right to present it as a board item if you wish, just understand that if it comes to a vote, you're not going to see the votes you need to get it passed.
Okay, Mike, for a point of additional information, on the 17th, I went out and I identified 41 new complaints to be addressed.
Okay. 41 out of 844 units. That's what you're telling me.
That was the new ones on the 17th.
Yes, and what I'm saying is based on the information I have, based on north and south boundary lines, 442 is on the north side and 844 is on the south side. And you're telling me there's 44 complaints on the south side. That doesn't seem to be a heavy workload, considering what other board members are currently working on. Somebody's got to turn down your...
Can I get a clarification on that?
Who asked?
I did.
Okay.
Dwayne.
There are 442 units on the north side, north of Florida, and 844 units on the south side of Florida. Gordon just said he had 42 new complaints that warranted investigation. And, that doesn't seem like a workload that's overextended.
Well, my question is, did he identify 41 more complaints, or did he actually receive 41 written complaints of violations of the deed restrictions?
The 40, it was ones that I identified, not ones that have been submitted by residents.
Then they're not actually complaints, they're actually a deed violation that you should be taking care of in the first place.
Oh, is that the definition now of what the trustee's looking for? Only when
It always has been, Gordon.
That's not what I've been told by others.
Okay, I'm looking at the duties of the public relations trustees. I have no idea what the feedback is. I'm sorry, guys, on that. It says, 1, attempt to resolve problems concerning written complaints involving compliance of property owners and/or renters with deed restrictions, district rules and regulations, and district policies and procedures. 2, respond to complaints acknowledging receipt of the complaint by phone, call, or note. Report all compliance problems not resolved in a reasonable time to the Board of Trustees for review and action. Be responsible for compliance with deed restriction, district rules and regulations, district policies and procedures in their assigned areas. Regularly check areas for violations, report violations to the district office, attempt to resolve violations by working with owners and renters, and report ongoing violations to the board for review and action. Notify office manager of vacant lots, removals, and new homes as they occur. and sign checks as requested. Those are the duties of the public relations trustees. So I'm not going to sit here and say the complaints that he's seen aren't complaints, they just aren't written complaints from persons in the park. Again, I don't see a volume of interest in changing the duties of the public relations trustees. But again, you do have the right to submit one for the next board meeting. With that, we're going to move on. You should have received an update of the board guidelines for legal consultation. I would like to change, delete the trustees may call district attorney at any time in regards to the business of Trailer Estate. I want to change that trustees shall contact the chairman prior to contacting the district attorney on business related to any activity in the park that relates to the trustee's position, i.e. maintenance, public relations, recreation, and carrying out their duties. Should during the discussion between the chairman and the trustees there be a concern of possible sunshine law issues, the subject matter shall then be brought before the Board of Trustees, before the board by the trustee, raising the issue for discussion and resolution. And all I've done is expanded what's in the chairman's duties, which under number 5 says oversee and supervise day-to-day operations of the district. Discussion.
Mike?
Yes, Mary.
Yeah, can you help me understand why you feel there's a need for a change?
There seems to be a belief among some board members that their first line of communications is to contact the district's attorney. And then I get feedback from the attorney being blindsided. And it would be nice to see if we couldn't work out the issues in advance, not having to call our district attorney. In other words, to call Blaylock and company.
Save us money.
So Mark's getting a lot of phone calls, and Mark is not telling that trustee that this is something they should be directing with you rather than with him?
Well, I don't think it's his place. I don't think it's the district, our district's attorney's place, because the way the rule is written, to contact me. I mean, and I think if I know in advance that there is an issue that can be worked out, it makes more sense to talk about it, so long as we don't violate the sunshine law, and that's the issue I'm trying to cover with the second part of this.
Personally, I would prefer to be able to have the flexibility to contact the attorney when I feel like whatever my issue is has risen to that level. I think that's the concern, making sure that you're only directing to him those items that are at that level. And the fact, I mean, if you disagree that I think something is a concern, then that kind of shuts me down to if I really believe it's a concern. And if I have to wait till another board meeting to bring it up with the rest of the board, then it delays me getting my answer. I'm a little concerned with stifling my ability to get legal representation if I feel I need it.
Well, I understand that concern, and I'm not trying to stop that. I'm trying to find out if you're going to call him. At least I'm aware of the possibilities that I may be getting a phone call from him on the subject matter, and that I'm aware of it before it occurs so that I'm not being blindsided.
Can I ask a question?
Sure, Karen.
I don't have a problem with you getting a little complaint or whatever that I need a discussion with you. I like the chain of command, and I don't think you're saying you can't go to the attorney, but it would be better to have a liaison to go there. Just my thought. I mean, I always had a chain of command. And you are the board president.
Yeah. This,
Oops, did I lose you?
no, you're still here. I got you.
Oop.
Denise, you got any?
I feel that, the lawyer had talked to me the other day and he said I could call him anytime with questions. I guess I don't mind.
Can't understand.
You, but in the end, I would still want to be able to contact the lawyer if it came to, if it was, and I'm so new that it's hard for me to say, but I do.
Go ahead.
I think it's okay because if you didn't agree with what I wanted to ask, would that prevent me from calling the attorney?
No.
Okay, that's all.
The only thing that would prevent you is if it was a sunshine issue.
I understand. You want to know what complaints are going to the lawyer?
Yes, so I have somewhat of a handle on what's going on.
I did stay on that. Yeah, I turned this down.
I think it's a good idea you have that.
I'm not sure that I agree or not. I'm not sure.
Let me turn this off and see if that's.
Dwayne?
I agree with what you're trying to propose, Mike. It was that way previously, and then the board changed it, I don't know, 3-4 years ago. But I do like the chain of command just by giving you some acknowledgement that this is my problem, this is what I want to talk about.
Pete?
Can you hear me?
Yeah?
Okay. I think maybe we should have a discussion at the board meeting with agreement as to how we're going to proceed. Under what circumstances do we call the attorney? And maybe if we keep a log or notes of our conversation and pass them on to you, or keep a log in the office of our contacts with the attorney and what it was about.
Not good client-attorney privilege.
Yeah, you run into this attorney-client privilege issue, and you could run into a violation of the Sunshine Law. That's what I'm trying to avoid is that issue. I'm trying to put a way of keeping things above board, but I do think that as chair, I need to have at least some understanding of what's going on.
That's a no-brainer. I'm sorry.
That's all right. Gordon?
Yes, I think first I believe the district attorney represents us all, doesn't just represent the chairman. This approach of having to go to a board meeting if the chairman doesn't agree with you that it's something to talk to the attorney could delay action for months if we were to cancel the meetings like
And you're coming in
summer,
and out because you're
like
moving
we did
around.
the last summer. So I think that could be a hindrance. It also makes it seem like the district's attorney is only representing the chairman.
Well,
So I don't support this
the
policy change.
way I wrote it is you can still contact them. The only time you have a problem is if it's a Sunshine Law issue.
I understood it to say that we couldn't contact them unless it was a sunshine law issue.
No.
But we still had
You
to talk to
should,
you
should,
first.
it says, during the discussion between the chairman and the trustee, there be a concern of a possible Sunshine Law issue. The subject matter should then be brought before the Board of Trustees, raising the issue for discussion and resolution.
And that was what I was trying to refer to, was that means it has to go to the trustees before it can go to the attorney, if it's a sunshine law related issue.
Well, I've been chairman now 2 years, and the 2 years I've been chairman, I have not found any issue that's life and death. And there isn't an issue that can't be weighed for a period of time to get a resolution. Okay, I'm getting a mixed feedback, literally a feedback, so I'm going to have a little problem here.
I have a question. Don't we always get a report from the lawyer?
We get a monthly thing from him telling us the length of time he talked with somebody, not what they talked about necessarily. Okay. So, you know, I'll give you an example. This setup for today's meeting, at first did not have the attorney involved. Some trustee contacted the attorney, and then I get a call from the district attorney afterwards, making all these changes to the meeting. Now, I'm not saying it wasn't right. I'm saying that had I been aware of it up front, we could have made the changes without contacting the attorney. And that's the issue I'm trying to get at.
Trying to save money, right?
I'm trying to save money. I'm trying to make sure, you know.
Excuse me, can I talk?
Sure.
I think Pete suggested.
I'm having a real hard time hearing you, Denise.
It worked if everybody just muted their microphone before they go to talk, then unmute, try to get the squelch out of here.
That might help, as long as you can hear me. Is that getting the squelch down?
You want me to turn mine off? Is that what you're saying?
That ain't helping either.
It's better on my end here.
Sounds like a
I can hear somebody's dog.
I'm sorry.
I can too.
Yeah, I think if you guys would mute,
When we went into that setting at the bottom of the beginning, you could choose, instead of having all the participants. There was
Karen, in
Also
the upper
sounds like
right-hand
another
corner, you can
participant is
mute.
rocking in their chair. And if they would mute,
Put your cursor in the right upper-hand corner of your square there, and you should be able
This
to
is
mute it.
iPad. I don't have a cursor.
It is in the left hand bottom. And if I mute it, I can't hear anyone.
I'm sorry, I didn't know it was so sensitive.
I don't know if it's on my end or your end, guys, to be honest with you.
it almost sounds like another participant is rocking in their chair. If they would mute their microphone.
Mike, do you have the option to mute the participants?
Yeah, but that's,
When I mute mine, it doesn't make any difference.
I don't know.
yeah, I got one participant at a time.
I'm not even up there now. I'm not even up there now. Okay.
We're gonna keep on going, it just, we're gonna go with the feedback. Okay, you were saying, Denise? Denise?
needs to unmute.
Mute, there, okay, I unmuted. Sorry about that.
No, that's fine.
I agree with Pete that we should discuss this at a meeting where we can come up with the rules involving this question.
Yeah, I got
Did you
you.
get that? No? Oh, well, I think Pete had a good suggestion that we bring this forward to a regular board meeting and discuss PP 12 and exactly what we would like to see it say. That's all.
Okay, we'll move this to the next meeting.
Oh, I'm sorry, what are we doing with this?
We're
What's,
gonna move it to the next meeting.
you're gonna bring it forward as a board?
Right.
All right, I have one recommendation and changes. In parentheses, when you reference trustees, i.e. maintenance, public relations, recreation, should say comma, et cetera. Because the treasurer and the secretary, I don't want to have to list all 9 positions out,
Yeah.
but just put et cetera, because there's times that I've needed to call the attorney and stuff, and I don't want to tie my hands. Okay?
Discussion of summer meetings. Gordon?
This is Gordon. After the schedule was distributed, it appears like we're not going to have a quorum for most of the summer and that. And I don't know if last year, if the meetings were all canceled ahead of time because it was known there wasn't going to be a quorum, or if it was determined each independent meeting date. So I just wanted to see if we're planning to cancel them all, if we're planning to continue to do the video meetings as long as that's an option, or just have a discussion about what our expectations are for this summer in meetings.
Anybody?
Last year, we didn't cancel all of the meetings all at once. We canceled them just
As
prior
long
to.
as we're able to continue with this video as an option, I think we should have meetings.
I don't disagree. That depends on the governor.
Executive order, yeah.
Executive order currently gives us this ability. Based on some discussions I've had, they're talking about changing the quorum rule that would allow video talking. Need the microphone on. I'll try to buy that.
You know how many of us are going to be gone?
It is sporadic at this point, and I don't have it in front of me. I didn't bring that with me today. I don't know if you heard, Lori, or not. Last year we canceled as we came up, we canceled them just in case somebody had come back. Now I agree, if the governor continues the executive order, this is a good way of handling the meeting once we work out the bugs a little bit. So that's the best I can determine at this point as to whether or not we're going to have meetings. Anybody else?
So basically, it's going to be the same as what we had last year. If the executive order still goes through that we can have video conferencing without the quorum, then we'll go ahead and do that. If we go back without the executive order and we don't have on a case by case or a case by meeting, then we will cancel the meetings.
Yep. Basically,
That's,
it's a crapshoot right now because we don't know which way the governor is leaning and what he's thinking as it relates to this issue.
but Lori is correct. We did that on a case by case meeting if we were going to have a quorum. And if we didn't, then it was canceled within the 7 days prior to.
Yeah, what happened, Dwayne, last year was TJ would email me by 10 o'clock-ish the canceled agenda, and then I'd try to get it up on the website that day so that we had the week's notice for the cancellation.
I can't hear Lori.
Mike,
Yes.
for future meetings, can Lori dial in just like you and the rest of us so we can see her and hear her?
Yeah, she can,
Thank you.
but she did warn me about something, so you'll notice it when it comes up next time. But yes, basically, she said she repeated what Dwayne said, that basically it was on a meeting-by-meeting basis. She'd get a call from TJ saying we had agenda items, or we didn't have a quorum, therefore we weren't going to have a meeting. I got positive and negative feedback last year on that from people in the park. Some thought it was unfair to the full-time residents down here, and some thought there was no need for one since there was really no business to take care of. So I guess we're not sure at this point. We won't know until the end of the month where the governor's coming from on his executive orders. He may open up the state again. I don't know.
I mean, we really don't have a lot of control over this, Mike.
No.
I mean, if we don't have a quorum, we don't have a quorum. There's not much we can do about it. And if we continue to have this video conferencing as a option, then we'll do what we can do for the park. I mean, I know some people liked it and some people didn't, but we didn't have a lot of choice because of the people currently serving on the board. Correct.
Right, and we cannot conduct business without a quorum.
Does that answer your question, Gordon?
Yes, I just wanted to clarify that we, first the point that if the video option remains, we will follow that and plan that, and we'll determine if there's a potential quorum for each individual meeting. They won't be like blanket canceled. They'd be decided one at a time. I just wanted to clarify that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I agree we should have video meetings if that's an option.
Provided there's agenda items, yes.
Right.
Okay. Anybody else on your discussion? Okay, opening of the kayaks. Gordon?
Okay, I know the recent action, I think it was up in Jacksonville to open the beach, seemed contrary to the governor's directives, but what I would like to have is our kayak launch open even if the beach is closed. However, as I researched that, it appeared to be that the governor's executive order can't close all marinas as well as any kind of boat launches. And as I understand it, we've kept our marina open, but closed the boats ramp. So it seemed like we're inconsistent with following the governor's directive.
Okay, let me correct you. First of all, the boat ramp is run by a private company that leases it from us. So what they do with their business is not our business. Okay, so long as they comply with our lease, they're in compliance with us. Okay, the kayak is ours. We do have control over that. We did close our beach. And just to give you an update, as of this morning, there are 417 positive cases here in Manatee County and 31 deaths. Now, within 3 days, that went up 105 positives and 11 additional deaths. As it currently stands, people aren't obeying the sign anyways. I go past the beach every night, and I can see people down there, and I know what they're doing, and I get it. I guess, you could be if you're going to launch the kayaks, I can't stop you. We're trying to tell you not to. You know, this epidemic has got us in a little bit of a bind. The population down here is the most receptive to this disease. Why you would want to provide them an option to increase their likelihood of dying is beyond my comprehension. So I guess I'm not in favor of reopening the kayaks.
Well, I don't see the kayak launch as a facility or a place where people are like to congregate in numbers greater than 10, which is the other part of the closure orders. And it's certainly a recreational activity, which is allowed under the governor's directive. And the governor directed that the business closures included the list as put out by Miami-Dade County, which in their Miami-Dade County Emergency Order 0620 Amendment number 3 closed both private and public boat launches and marinas. So my understanding was that the effect of the governor's order was to close all private boat launches as well as public ones. So under that interpretation, our boat launch should be closed as well.
You got the wrong idea. It isn't our boat launch.
Okay, the boat launch located at the Trailer Estates Marina is a private boat launch, is what I believe you're saying.
Correct.
And the governor's order, as I understand it, ordered private boat launches closed.
And that becomes a sheriff's department issue. If the
Okay.
sheriff department wants to come in and close it, they can close it.
And so your point is that the Trailer Estates Board of Trustees does not have the authority to direct that to be closed?
Not under the lease.
Okay. Okay.
Gordon, can you provide me with that executive order?
It's Executive Order 2091. And there's a reference in there that it includes the essential businesses as developed by Miami-Dade under their emergency order 0620. And it started out, it allowed the opening or remaining opening of boat launches, and the first version didn't really say it. Amendment number 1 said that they're open or not included. Number 2 closed them except for commercial, and amendment number 3 to that closed boat launches except for commercial. And to make it more complicated, there was Miami-Dade Emergency Order 07-20 that went through several amendments, and it ended up saying they're as listed in Emergency Order 0620. So it's really convoluted.
Well, I've read that thing 2 or 3 times, 2091, and I right now I'm in disagreement with what you're saying, because I think the executive order for the southern Miami-Dade, those areas there, though all those private boat launches were closed. For up here in this area, it was left open. But what I would propose to do is let's have time to go back and review 2091, and then go ahead and discuss this on reopening the kayak ramp then.
Okay, my interpretation was based on the understanding that the governor applied the Miami-Dade list to the entire state.
That's not how I'm reading it, but
yeah. So, but that's the basis for my statement. So I'm okay with bringing it back, but if that's the best we can do, I realize it wasn't the board action that closed the beach and that anyway. It was an administrative decision following the governor's orders.
Any other discussion?
We have to be real careful how we proceed, because the kayak ramp, until the executive order says we can open it, we're a government. We're not a private, that's not a private beach, we're a government.
Lori, did you catch what Lori said? Okay, Lori made mention that when you talk about a private beach versus a governmental beach, we're a government. We're not a private entity. We're not a homeowners association. We are a government. We have to comply with what the state of Florida requests of us to do as a government. Right?
Right, we might not like it,
Yeah.
and it might not really well apply to us and our exact kayak ramp. However, we have to look at the big picture.
Any other discussion? With that, I'll open up for public comment. Bill Anderson, do you have anything you wish to share with us on discussions we've had?
No.
No? Thank you for participating. Sharon?
I'm on Sharon's phone.
Okay, Pete. I
That's how we
see.
got sound.
Okay, that's why we got sound. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Did you have anything you wanted to add with regards to things we discussed?
No.
Okay. Dottie? Dottie?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, can hear you.
Yes, no, I have no comments. Thank you.
Okay, with that, we'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you for participating.
What time?